Hi, everybody. We're about to get started. Thanks for coming. My name is Zach. I'm a librarian here in Northeast Harbor. Please take this opportunity to silence your cell phones if you haven't already. I'd just like to say before our programs that we're able to offer free events like this year-round, thanks to the generosity of our donors and thanks to our creative community of artists and educators. Coming up next Wednesday, we have a poetry reading with Soamesville-based author Carl Little, featuring work from his 2024 publication, Blanket of the Night. And on Saturday, June 28th, pianist and choir director Christina Sperling is leading our second annual Pickup Choir Sing-Along. So to hear more about that and all of our upcoming programs, you can sign up for our Sunday newsletter at the table by the door. Tonight's presenter is a Mount Desert resident and has worked locally and nationally on conservation and community building projects for more than 40 years. She's the founder and president of the worker-owned cooperative Zero Energy Homes. Please welcome Caroline Pryor.
Right. Thank you, Zach, and thank you all who are gathered here and on Zoom. It's such a treat to be in my home library, and thank you to the Northeast Harbor Library for making this space available to so many different kinds of functions. So what I would love to do in response to this invitation from the library is introduce you to the company that I've started and why I'm doing it and what we're doing and how. So I'd love to share, I have about a dozen slides, and then I thought we could just open it up for conversations. And I really welcome your questions. You know, we're a good sized group here. As I'm going along, feel free to ask a clarifying question. So why me and why now? I am on a mission to do good and to do well. I am an equality and justice advocate. I'm an advocate for community and for protecting our environment. And I am really excited to be triple solving for housing, climate, and rural economic development. I would like to acknowledge that Native people face the steepest obstacles to quality housing in Maine and across the nation. I would also like to share a statistic that is very humbling and very sobering. 2% of the population in Maine is Black, and yet 47% of the unhoused population in Maine is Black. We have a lot of work to do. Oh, excuse me. So what motivates me to start a modular home manufacturing facility in Down East Maine? The current system is failing, and I want to revolutionize it. And our approach at Zero Energy Homes is just one solution of many to the housing crisis, but it's one that is repeatable and scalable, and it's very solid. So we have a whopper of a housing crisis right here in the town of Mount Desert. Before this meeting, I was meeting with Kathy Miller at Mount Desert 365, and one of the opportunities for collaboration between Zero Energy Homes and Mount Desert 365 is to bring some of these homes to our town and our island. You may know from reading just statewide news that Maine needs more than 80,000 housing units by 2030, and that is across the state. We have just a severe lack of housing stock, and a lot of the housing stock that we have is really old and inefficient. We are the most fossil fuel dependent state in the nation, and we also have the oldest housing stock in the nation. So the other thing that really brings me to this is I love to collaborate and I love to solve problems. So after 40 years in the nonprofit sector, I have founded Zero Energy Homes as a for-profit company. And one of my particular professional interests is in bringing new forms of capital to mission-based work. But the story isn't about me at all. It's really about the people that we're serving. And in the middle here is, her name is Camille. She lives in Gorham, and she is going to be home buyer number 2. And here's her story. She has a master's in social work. She works with disabled populations. She earns $56,000 or $58,000 a year, which sounds like a good salary. In Cumberland County in Maine, she's considered low income. Camille is lucky though, because she owns a small parcel of land, and this is her dream house, what she would really want to build. And I'd like to just share with you a couple of sentences from a letter that she wrote. She says, "In my search to find a company to build with, I was met with one major obstacle: cost. To be honest, I felt like home ownership, let alone building a net zero energy home, was unattainable, even though building in a sustainable way with local materials is incredibly important to me. Zero Energy Homes is striving to make these homes affordable for the average Jane like me." Where have we been to get to this point? The first business plan started post-Hurricane Katrina in Mississippi. We lost 1 million units of housing stock as a result of that hurricane, and there was this incredible opportunity to rebuild better with a more sustainable supply chain and homes, that are net zero energy. And in the South, it's sort of the opposite issue. We want them really warm here, but they have a lot of cooling costs. Long story short, with this start to the plan, it was 2007, 2008, recession, housing crisis, that business plan was shelved. It popped up a few years later in Vermont after Hurricane Irene came along and flooded a lot of the river valleys. The state of Vermont was interested and did some policy work, and a very small company called Vermont Homes, which is a modular company. They only build about 10 homes a year, and each one is kind of custom. But this Vermont Homes grew out of this desire to build a more affordable, sustainable product. A business colleague of mine gave me this nascent business plan and said, "You know a lot of people in Maine, you really care about housing, you care about the climate, why don't you see what you can do with it?" And that was about 5 years ago. So we've been plugging for a while, and we went through a research and development phase under our Katahdin. We had a fiscal 501c3 nonprofit sponsor, and we received some early angel and donor and foundation support to really figure out, can we make it a profitable company, and what are the numbers we need to make it work so that we can really have a business plan. So that's one of the things that I have been working on for the last few years, and I am really excited to announce that our first house will be done in a few weeks, and it's in Searsport, and I invite you all to come. We'll be having a series of open houses in July, and it's a great house. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but it's been quite a learning experience for us. So here's where we're headed in terms of the growth of the company. So 2025, our first demonstration house will be complete. We have an arrangement with our builder where we can build another 10 homes in panelized forms. We don't have a modular manufacturing facility yet. We're working on that. Hope to have it in 2026. And we have launched a round 2 capital raise of $4.5 million so that we can build the facility and hire the employees to build 50 to 60 homes a year. That's where we want to head. And then the really cool thing is this is a repeatable, scalable enterprise. So even if we build 50 homes a year in Down East Maine, that's a drop in the bucket. And so this business plan, we would like to export it to other parts of the state, New England. We have interest in Montana, Idaho, Alabama. There's a lot of ways that supply chain can be tailored to different parts of the country. So that's part of how we've been able to attract some early foundation support. This isn't just a one-off, but it's an opportunity to really rethink about the way we build homes. Many of you may know this, that 97% of the home construction in the United States is stick-built. That means literally one stick of lumber at a time. The New York Times wrote an article a year or so ago on why are we building houses the same way as we did 125 years ago. And so only 3% of the home production in the United States right now is modular. I am really fortunate to have the A team. And thanks to some working capital that we've been able to raise and some grants, I have been able to put together the manufacturing, the design, the building, the financial expertise that I need. Those of you who know me know that I'm not an engineer or an architect or builder, but I have really been able to find great people. Couple of ones that I wanted to mention. We received a grant, a $200,000 grant from MTI, which is a state, I guess it's a state agency, quasi-state agency, and it was the last of the COVID relief funding from the Prime 2 COVID relief funding. And our business was very much impacted by COVID. So I told you about the, when we were under the umbrella of our Katan doing the research and development for the company. 6 weeks after we signed that agreement, COVID happened, and all my contacts were being done remotely and on Zoom. I was trying to start this company. So we certainly had a delay, but we are rolling now. So Steve is our Vice President of Operations, and he is leading the search for the manufacturing facility. And we have a number of candidate sites. We're looking in the triangle between Ellsworth, Brewer, and Belfast. That's sort of the sweet spot where we want to locate. Our business plan is pretty exciting. It's what I like to think of as very 21st century. There's a lot of opportunity for innovation, also product diversification. I mentioned Kathy Miller at Mount Desert 365. She's really encouraging us to, as quickly as we can, get a model that's a duplex, because that's another opportunity for savings. Our first models are single-family homes. There's also an opportunity to use different materials. You may know that the University of Maine has the largest or one of the largest 3D printers in the country, and we could potentially print components, countertops, or even cabinets or bathroom fixtures. They're trying to print houses there. That's a longer term project, but we also have bioplastics. How can we get some of the more toxic materials out of the building supply chain? So the home product is pretty simple in what makes a net zero energy home. It really only takes three things. It takes a tight thermal envelope, very efficient mechanical systems, your heat pumps, heat pump, hot water heater, your cooking and washer and dryer, and then it takes a power source, and where all of our homes will be installed with solar panels so that you have your own built-in supply, and that's really all that it takes to make a net zero energy home. My husband David and I live in a 125-year-old house, and we just don't have a tight thermal envelope, and we never will. But the point is, if you're building new, this is not rocket science. It's just good building science. And this is, for new construction, this is part of the standard that we need to set. One of the exciting things about these homes is they will have no or very low heat or electric bill. All you should have is your distribution charge of about $25 a month from the power company. We did the energy projections for the demonstration house. That's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This is the 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and the second floor can be finished at a later time to make it a 3 or a 4-bedroom. But the energy projection for this house is that it would be net energy positive. So it's scheduled to generate more electricity through the solar panels than the residents will consume. So that means you could expand to the second floor, or you could add a second EV at a later time, and there should be enough demand there. I mean, enough supply. I mentioned our production goals of 50 to 60 homes within 5 years. The other key part of our business plan is that 75% of these homes will be affordable to those who are earning less than 100% of area median income. Does anybody know what that is for Hancock County? What area median income is? I think it's maybe like $62,000 or $64,000. So household income? Household income. Yeah. Yeah. In Waldo County, where the Searsport House is located, it has even a lower threshold, and there I think it's $56,000 to $58,000. And then 25% of the homes would be available to a more moderate income home buyer. What we talk a lot about workforce housing, and that's the market there. And the moderate income builds help underwrite the lower income. I wanted to talk a little bit about our supply chain. We have a really exciting supply chain, and the poster is a little bit small, but if you want to take a look later, but 80% of the home will be built with materials from Maine. And here's how we're doing that. We're sourcing our dimensional lumber through Hancock Lumber. A lot of that spruce does come from Maine, but they also source regionally. So there's probably some Canadian wood in there as well. The sheathing is made up in Easton, Maine by Huber Resource Company. The exterior cladding, the pine flooring, and the pine trim is from Maine-grown pine milled by Robbins Lumber in Searsmont. Interesting thing about Robbins Lumber, when we went to meet with them to ask if they were interested in working with us in our homes, they brought up their workforce housing issues. So they're trying to hire, and their people can't find places to live near the mill. So they have land, and we have buildings. So we have a beginning of a collaboration there as well. And that's just the type of employer we would love to collaborate with. The wood fiber insulation is a new product that you may have heard about, made in Maine by Timber HP. We have a mix of bat and loose fiber. That is a startup company that located in the Madison Mill in Maine, and is trying to bring a new wood fiber cellulose product to North America. This product is currently made in Europe, and it's not made at all in North America, and they're we're one of the first. It is a premium product, but we're really excited to use it because it's much more sustainable than Roxol or the pink insulation that you may know. The windows are made in Belfast. They are triple glazed, and they are made by Matthews Brothers. The cedar is milled in, trying to think if it's Unity, Dewey Lumber, and they're very interested. They love what we're doing, and they would like to supply cedar decks for all of our homes. And we're trying to work in a little hemlock where we can as well. What this means for the Maine economy is we've got Maine people using Maine materials, building homes for Maine people. I mean, it's like sometimes when I'm talking to a contractor, they're like, why didn't I think of that? It just makes so much sense. Here's another interesting statistic. 70% of the modular homes that are sold in Maine are made in Pennsylvania and trucked here. So there's that transportation cost, which has a climate as well as a financial cost. The next place we import most of our modular homes from is Quebec. So there's a really big opportunity here. I wanted to share a little bit about some of the partners that have come in to date and really are helping us with this initiative. We've had federal, state, foundation, and private support. I'll give you a good example. The Maine Department of Economic and Community Development is providing a $25,000 home buyer assistance grant for the first house in Searsport, and that money is going to flow through to the home buyer at closing. And that's going to help with that gap. No matter how far we can push the price point down, there are going to be some home buyers, there's still going to be a gap for them. And part of the challenge for us is to get our building price down as much as possible, but also help with these home buyer grants. And Island Housing Trust, you may know from their work here, they have a home buyer, these HOPE grants, and that's can be a key part of how the finances get put together. Zach mentioned that we are in transition to becoming an employee-owned, worker-owned co-op, and we're very proud to be a member of the Cooperative Business Alliance of Maine and also the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops. Just one thought on the worker co-op piece. I mean, some people say, "Well, why are you organizing it that way?" And there's a couple of reasons. It's an opportunity to have a more democratic and just workplace. It's also a way to share in the profit. So instead of the profit for this company going to Wall Street and this being venture capital, this is an opportunity for the investors to have a profit, but also for the people who work in the company to share in that. And I think we're in a very constrained labor market, and I think this is a selling feature for why somebody would want to work in this company, because not only is the mission great, but you can actually profit share. It's been quite a journey to get to this place. I have met a lot of skeptics. I have met a lot of naysayers, but they've been in the minority. The majority of people that I meet have been very supportive and lean in and say, "How can I help? What can we do?" But this saying by Margaret Chase Smith sometimes keeps me going. When people keep telling that you can't do a thing, you kind of like to give it a try. And so I think I'll stop there and open it up for conversation. Yeah, thank you. Hi, yeah.
Hi, I'm Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting. I'm curious about the relationships with the communities, the houses, like, we're actually from Pennsylvania, and our town that we live in had a relationship with some solar companies, I guess, and pulled in some other organizations in town to build some low-income housing that were like this, zero energy. And so I'm wondering, is there a relationship with the community within this house? I'm wondering that. And then, like, does Searsport have any connection to this property, any buy-in, any support of it? I'm also wondering if there's any issues related to when someone has this property and purchases this property, what keeps it affordable housing, as opposed to, build that house here in Northeast, and if there's, it's not going to be affordable the next time they sell it, if there's not some sort of a trust involved. So I'm also wondering about that.
Yeah, okay, so a couple of questions. I'll repeat them for those that are on Zoom. So let me start with the last question. So what keeps these homes affordable when they sell over time? So a couple of possibilities. The first house in Searsport, there will be affordability covenants. That state funding, that $25,000 grant, does come with strings attached. And so that house, when it's sold, there'll be a formula that allows for appreciation, but not like a speculative sale in the future. So that's the way we would love to work, is with somewhere where there's an affordable housing developer or entity. And in this case, it will be Penquist Cap Agency, which is a cap agency based in Bangor that we actually purchased the land from to put the demonstration house on. They're very affordable housing is a big part of their project. If we work with Mount Desert 365 and are able to build a home on Hill Way, Mount Desert 365 would hold the affordability covenants. The Gorham woman that I mentioned, we don't yet have a mechanism, an entity that has stepped forward to say we would hold covenants there. So it's not perfect. I'm working with her intention, and so we would like to find as many covenant or ways to keep it affordable over time as possible. But does that answer that question?
It does.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
So your other
He also gets at the first one, depending on the community and the area.
yeah, so the connection, what's the connection with the community, and how is Searsport relating to this? So Searsport has been very enthusiastic. They have a housing crisis as well. And they told me an interesting, the town manager told me an interesting statistic from their community. He said, we have 84 permitted building lots in Searsport right now. And he said some of them have been permitted before the one that you're dealing with, the one that we're on Osprey Lane. It was permitted about 22 years ago, and it's been sitting vacant since. He said some of them are older than that. He said, and some of them are going through the planning board now. He said, but there's no home product. These building lots are sitting there vacant. So they're super excited to see this come in. And there are potentially 5 or 6 other lots right next to where we're building in Searsport that could also have homes. Here's another thing that a community could do is look at its zoning. What can it do to encourage? We're seeing some relief come from the Maine legislature now in terms of statewide zonings, like you can have an accessory dwelling unit, an ADU, on most properties in Maine now, thanks to state legislation. So it's a way to, a lot of we have zoning in Mount Desert that's 3 acres. That's really consumptive for one house. And so I understand.
For that land price, probably.
It's not, no, that's part of the challenge, and this is another community issue, is how do we get the land to be affordable? So the building lot that Zero Energy Homes purchased in Searsport, I paid $26,000 for it. And we can make that work in this equation. And we don't intend to be a developer, we just want to be a builder. But we had to buy the land here because we needed a place to put our first house. In other communities, like just think of Portland or Cape Elizabeth, either the town or an NGO has to somehow step in and help with the land cost. There was a building lot, a half-acre building lot in Falmouth that I heard about last week. It was on the market for $550,000 for a half-acre building lot. So that's.
Something else you're up against.
It's another thing that the home buyer is up against. And right now, we're trying to find the pathway forward. The Gorham property owner, she owns a building lot. So great. She bought it a number of years ago. She's been sitting on it. She hasn't been able to do anything with it. And we have a Saco, Freeport, Brunswick, Trenton are all some of our customers that we're talking with. They already own the land. So that's, for now, that's a way to get over that hurdle. Did that answer?
It sure did. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's possibility for future relationships too. Like each community is going to be different.
Each community is different. And here's another great example. A town can hold a soft mortgage for, let's say, you have your essential workers, your fire department, your police, nurses, teachers. Let's say the town puts up a $25,000 soft mortgage that's released maybe after 5 years when the person stays in the house. I mean, that's another mechanism that, towns have to be, I think I'm agreeing with you, and you're picking up on the town piece, that they have to be part of the solution. I went to the MDI Ellsworth League of Town meeting a few months ago, and they don't know what to do, but they're trying. I mean, and it's such an intractable problem, and that's kind of what gets me going, is it's a nut that has to be cracked. We have to do it.
Yeah, and I said our community was doing it, but they did 2 or 3 houses. I don't think they have this. They're piecemealing it together. They don't have what you're doing, which is pulling it all together, being that entity that does that.
As I work in different parts of the state, a number of people point to Mount Desert Island as a model for what needs to happen elsewhere, because here we have several organizations who are working on affordable, low-income, and workforce middle-income housing, year-round housing. We have Island Housing Trust. We have Mount Desert 365. We have Friends of Acadia working with Acadia National Park for their year-round and seasonal employees. We have the YWCA, power to them. They bought the big property up on Route 3, the old Hamilton station. and they're putting in apartments. They're very interested in single-family home product as well. So there are a number of communities, and Ellsworth is one, where they don't have any NGO that's really leaning in on the housing to be a partner with them. They have developers and they have the municipality, but they don't have that, sometimes that magical nonprofit piece. Zach.
We were chatting a bit before the presentation, and I wonder if you could share a little about like what demographics historically have seen modular and net zero homes, and like how what you're doing is different and sort of opening up that market to lower income folks.
Yeah, so Zach's question about where are net zero homes being built, modular net zero energy homes being built in other parts of the country. So net zero energy homes that are modularly made are produced every day in America. And if they're high performance, net zero, they tend to be high end. And they're really a fabulous product. There is efficiency there, but they're not within the price point. So that's where we're different, is trying to make it, bring that high quality, keep it net zero energy so you don't have those heat or electric bills, and bring it to a different population. So as we think about our market, I'll go back a few slides if I can. This, well, the first house, this house, so 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. It could be a starter home for a young family. It could also be a home that you downsize to if you have a big old drafty 4-bedroom farmhouse and you want 1 floor living, and you're maybe thinking about retirement. In fact, the woman who lives across the street, she has a 3-bedroom, 3-story home. She's in her 70s. She came over when I was looking at the land, and she's like, please don't cut all the trees down. I was like, no, I won't. And then I told her what we were doing, and she's like, well, I should sell my house and move here because I only need 1 floor. And she has more house. So those are sort of some different ends of the spectrum. Yeah. One other thing I mentioned to Zach, we're really fortunate to be working with Bright Built Home as an architect. They do a beautiful product, higher end, and they're at the table for 2 reasons. One is they do see affordable housing as part of their mission, but they haven't been able to figure out how to do it. The other is a lot of the employees who work at Bright Built Home can't afford to live in a Bright Built Home. So, and I'm finding this also with contractors and business, building material suppliers. Everybody gets it. How it affects all of us. I mean, David and I wonder, will our kids ever be able to live here? And so the good thing about that is people are willing to collaborate, and people have been very generous with offering preferred pricing and being collaborative and helping us try to problem solve and figure out how to do it. I mean, the first house, I do hope you'll have a chance to come to one of our open houses and see it. We're really excited about it, but it's not perfect and it's not efficient in how it was built, because essentially it's a custom house. It's a one-off. And now we're going to build almost the same one in Gorham, so there'll be some efficiency there, but every day the contractors drive to site. Whereas in a modular facility, the houses are built in one place, 56 degrees year-round, climate-controlled temperature. And our son has done construction. A couple of winters ago, there were a number of days where he couldn't go to work because of the weather, or because the building materials hadn't been delivered, or the dumpster wasn't there. And so all of these logistical things, and your husband is an architect, these logistical pieces, to reach the audience we want, we have to make it simpler. And I went to a modular set in Booth Bay last week. It's a very high-end, beautiful home built by Knickerbocker, which is a design build company in Booth Bay. This modular home, we went because it's such a learning experience for us. So it came down this crazy, steep, rugged road. It had the sheetrock, the cabinets, the appliances, and the flooring almost all in. And when I looked, the sheetrock was intact. It after it had come down, and it was strapped on this big truck and set with a crane, and the sheetrock was perfect. They said, well, there might be a little touch up there. But so their finish from the time that house was set, 3 weeks, because almost everything was done in their factory in Wisconsin. And they're also interested in collaborating with us. I mean, they've got the system down, but that home is selling for $600,000 to $1 million, $600,000 to $1 million. So, yeah, so lots of learning. Yeah, other questions? Is anybody here thinking about building a home someday? Hopefully never.
That's right.
I'm thinking of downsizing and wanting to look at retirement home, or retirement home for home myself.
Nice.
And so that was why I was interested to know whether this will be something that is available to people that are retiring, or
Definitely, that's a important part of the market we'd like to serve. Maine is a aging state. And part of, I think, the solution, and this isn't my idea, but I've heard others say that if we can free up some of the bigger homes, that's an opportunity for a family to move in and maybe renovate, upgrade, get it more tighter in terms of heat and insulation, and let the senior move to a place that has very low maintenance and is much more manageable. Yeah, we hope to be modularly producing, if all goes according to plan, in fall of 2026. That's a really ambitious timeframe, but we feel like we've got the team now and we're ready to do that. Just raise a little more money. You had a question?
Yeah, I was thinking that, I think especially for the senior contingent, downsizing, getting the duplexes or getting like multiple unit houses on the same lot is so attractive. I mean, also the fact that they are so cute is great. I mean, I think they're the prettiest, like affordable homes I've seen in a long time. And I hope you go beyond the duplex, like into larger congregate living. I think there's so much interest. I hear it, I just heard it this morning, and I heard somebody was saying, why don't we all like live in, someplace where we have some little central communal space.
Hear each other.
Exactly, and it's usually women, but there's such a market for this.
Yes.
Such a market, and the more you can demo by putting a duplex or a couple houses on a single lot, throughout these towns. And I think the more you have, the more you talk to people, people will produce lots. People have lots that they can either share or donate because they don't need them. And they care about this, they care about me, and it's all part of, like you said, that whole system where if we provide housing for people who have too much house, they will let those go. And I think we do need to work with our municipalities so that we have covenants in place, we have protections, they don't all become vacation rentals.
Yeah.
And I think if we have to get that whole system working.
Yeah.
And I just think you guys are doing great work. I just wanted to go faster.
I'm with you. Thank you. For the Zoom people, I don't think I can repeat that. But was there a question?
No, sorry.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. The opportunity for community and different forms of living. This statistic I can't get correct, but it's something like 20-some-odd% of households in the United States are now the traditional nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
There's multi-gen. There's people who aren't related or married living together. There's all kinds of, and it's just telling us we've got to have more models for this. And the other thing is, if we can get away with a more livable house with less square footage if we don't have to have everything in our house. Like you don't have, do we all need to have guest rooms? Like what if there was like a common building where when your guests come, they can stay there? And your footprint is smaller and you don't have to heat all that space. Another these are just boxes. So this house, this was built in panels, but when we have modular, this is just two boxes that are put together, 14-foot wide by 32 feet long, and then they're dropped and set into place, and then the roof is just lifted up on hinges. So if you think about the concept of boxes, there's another opportunity that I've been thinking about with the unhoused populations. Maybe a 900 square foot house is still too much house for someone. And what about, there's a Vermont example where they built 7 pods. They were small, like just a couple of 100 square feet, no kitchen. There was a community kitchen. So people had private bedroom, they had a desk, they had their own bathroom, and giving people sort of the dignity, the privacy, the respect, and not feel, these maybe are people who aren't ready to have their own kitchen and make their own meals. So, and I talked with Healthy Acadia about this idea, and they're very interested in these, how can we make pods that help with transitional housing, I've talked with a Wabanaki community group that is interested in homes like this for people who are coming out of substance abuse programs. They say that the first house you live in when coming out of substance abuse is the most important. And the Wabanaki looked at this as a place where people could feel proud of their surroundings. It's often a family reunification opportunity, and to have to be surrounded by wood. Like when you see the exterior of this house, it's got the wood cladding. It's so handsome. When we had the tribes visit, they were, just really appreciative of the beauty of the materials, and something that a place where you'd want to live. So there are some possibilities. I mean, lots of that takes subsidy, but that's what we're doing. No. Thank you. Zach.
So I think there's a bit of a myth around worker-owned cooperatives and how they're somehow like less efficient than like a traditional workplace. So for someone who's working inside of one, I'd love to hear your experience and maybe to help dispel some of those illusions.
So the question is about worker-owned co-ops and the myths around efficiency and productivity. So statistically, employee-owned co-ops are some of the most efficient and productive companies in the United States. And there are some big name co-ops like Land of Lakes Butter and the Cabot cheese. There's, I can't think of them quickly off the top of my head. But if you do a Google search, it consistently comes up. And the belief is when people can see the value of their work every day, and they know that their ideas will make a difference, that it's a higher level of commitment. And part of what I like to think about is that every person who works at Zero Energy Homes can make a difference every day on any job that they're working on. And just that kind of approach to thinking, I think inspires people to have a higher ethic in terms of caring about their work. Like if something comes off the line and it's not right, you have a vested interest in fixing it. So that's part of it. I think, co-ops are not widely understood, but here in Maine, we have some great examples. And I think the lobster co-ops are some of the best. But we also have housing co-ops. We have food co-ops. A lot of people know that. And if you go to the Belfast Food Co-op, that's about one of the most efficient places to shop, and fantastic selection. So, I think we have to come forward with evidence that co-ops are really very democratic and very just places, and are There's no reason why they should be less profitable. In fact, they really should be more profitable. But we're in transition. We're an LLC now, and we're in the process of transitioning, and there'll be 4 founding members, employee members. Yeah. Well, I see the lights starting to dim. I know the library closes, I've lost track of time.
We have plenty of time.
Oh, we have plenty of time, okay.
Yeah, we can always go a little later with the
When you're
library.
talking about the folks that you're working with, the one position at the bottom, I didn't, that slide with the folks who are working there was a position related to wellness.
Oh, Lisa Sakabason, whoops, wrong way, sorry.
In that role.
Oh, Zach.
Sorry. You might know what I'm talking.
Yes, so Lisa Sakabason is the co-executive director of Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. Yeah, and she is one of the people that we've been working with in the Katahdin region, and is they have a place called The Gatherings, which is it does a lot of things for the community, but there's also a substance use recovery program, and being close to Katahdin and the sacredness of the mountain is a very spiritual place, and they're redeveloping that area. So is this Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness? But you brought up the public health piece. There is a public health component to this work as well, in a couple of ways. One is that a lot of our new materials off gas and make for pretty unhealthy indoor air quality. And some of the binders and the resins and the glues. So that's, these homes have an air exchange. So, we used to be worried about making our houses too tight and they would mold and mildew. Well, the solution is the air exchange. And that's one, but the other public health issue, I'm very interested in doing a mobile home replacement pod. Getting it to the right price point is going to be a challenge, but some of the interior air quality in those mobile homes is some of the poorest that we have. I mean, there's a lot of mold and mildew. Sometimes the homes are banked with straw or plastic, and it's just, and these are often people who end up in the emergency room with asthma. And so we haven't tried to directly talk about it, but it's a piece of the story.
So are these forced air systems, or are they mini split?
It's the first house has 2 heat pumps and a heat pump hot water heater. We are thinking we only may need 1 heat pump in the future. So we wanted to make sure this one had. And we also have 3 2-foot registers in the bathroom and the bedrooms. So it's going to be plenty warm. And another question that comes up is, so these are all electric homes. They are designed to be on the grid. So what do you do if the power goes out for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
The builder and the architect say this house is going to stay very warm for at least 5 days if you don't open the door a lot.
Wow.
They're that tight. And our bodies, these houses are so tight that our bodies actually generate part of the heat. At 98.6 degrees, we're constantly, I hadn't thought of that until I saw the energy analysis, that depending on the number of occupants, we actually capture the body heat we're putting off. But if you do want a secondary heat source, you have a couple of options. You can have a generator. You can have a very small wood stove, really small. Or you could have a battery backup. And the Gorham property owner, she was going to go with a generator, and she just decided she doesn't want to deal with a generator, and she really wants no fossil fuels, and so she's going to do batteries. So, yeah.
And the windows, they don't open, correct?
They do.
What they do?
They're all casement windows, so they're super easy to open and clean. They tilt.
Reads as well.
Yeah. Other questions?
But not typically no basements then?
Another good question. Typically, a modular home is built on a basement, either a full
Space or-
foundation or a crawl space. And that's because the mechanical systems are run under the house. And when the module comes, the floor is there. And so the basement allows you to get underneath. That said, it doesn't have to be that way. And that is one of the innovation opportunities for us, because the foundation is the most expensive. I mean, we're not even selling foundations, but it's going to be one of the most expensive parts of the house if you have a full foundation. It's also, from a carbon standpoint, its concrete is very dense in terms of its extraction and production. So we are working, we have like we call it the foundations document. I think we have 8 different alternative foundations. So you can have a frost wall protected shallow foundation. That's less expensive. You can have what's called a haunch slab. I don't know if anybody, it's kind of a nerdy thing. I just learned about the haunch slab, but it has a vapor barrier and it is a lot less concrete and it doesn't require as much digging. You can build on helical piles. Has anybody been over to see the new modular buildings that were put in at the Astico? The new, like,
Cottages.
the little cottages. Check it out. They're built on helical piles. It does take some engineering and it has to be the right site, but it really can bring down the cost quite a bit. And those were modules, shells really, that were built in Western Maine at KBS, the large modular builder that's left. But this is, again, for, it's a seasonal rental. It's a nightly rental rather than a year-round home. So there are some good foundation options. I'll tell you what happened in Searsport. We hit ledge.
Of course.
Why didn't I think of that, right? We thought we wouldn't, but we did. And so we have a partial foundation, but it basically costs the same amount. And so we didn't have the washer and dryer down there. We had to bring that upstairs. But we pivoted. We had, again, a good builder. He really knows, and he also did the foundation, so we were able to.
So there's an interior stair to the basement or to the?
There's not even an interior stair. I'm 5'4", and in one part of the basement, there's standing headroom for me. So it's an exterior, like not a crawl space, but an exterior hatch to get into the basement. But mostly everything is up on the second floor. And we also did have to treat for radon with just a vent.
Would some of your foundations allow you to have no steps up? You know, because some people are gonna find that a problem, like maybe a ramp or something for some home residents.
Yeah, so the question is, would some of the foundations allow there to be no or low step or ramp to accommodate different accessibilities? One of the conversations with our design build team is about designing for universal access. And that is, yeah. So that's this, when you go to Searsport, you have to climb a bunch of steps. And it's turned out to be a steeper grade in order to get it close to the road. So it would not be ADA, that site wouldn't be ADA accessible, but when you walk in the house, you can see that the house could be.
So all the doorways, everything's built wider?
They call it, this house was not built for that, but there's another term that I can't think of, that it's not ready, it's not ADA ready, but it's like pre-ADA. It's like with very modest changes, it could be, if need to be. But I think one of the market questions for us is, should we be building all of our homes with universal design from the beginning? And again, can we afford to do that? But people want to age in place, and stairs are a barrier.
Especially here.
The other cool innovation opportunity is working with technology. So these can be smart homes, and then that also serves another population as well that may be neurodiverse, for example, that could, yeah, there's a really interesting organization. They're called 3i Home. They're in the Portland area, and they're creating a whole community for people who are differently abled. And they're very interested in our home product. Their first one is a very large complex, but yeah. But I don't know where, I don't know that, I think their buildings may be custom made. I don't know that they're doing modular. Lots of markets. Yeah. All right, well, last questions? I wanted to give one other shout out, which is to the Knowles Company. If the Knowles Letter, their magazine, we are featured in here, and we really are thankful for that. This puts our company in front of 40,000 readers. So, yeah, so that's the story. That's what's happening here.